Lisa Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the screen again. She had been working the night shift at the Cerberus station for 3 months now. The station floated in space, at the edge of human territory, far from Earth and the other colonies. Her job was to listen for signals from deep space. Most nights she heard nothing but static and the hum of distant stars. But tonight was different, eh? Strange sound came through her headphones. It was not the usual noise of space. A pattern. Lisa sat up straight and turned up the volume. The signal was weak, but it was there, repeated every few minutes. "Computer, record the signal," she said. The computer beeped. Recording started. Lisa called her supervisor. "Captain Morrison, you need to hear this." Jake Morrison was sleeping. In his quarters, when the call came, he was the commander of Cerberus Station, and he had been doing this job for 10 years. Most calls from the night shift were false alarms or equipment problems. "What is it, Martinez?" he asked, still half asleep. "Sir, I'm picking up something strange." "It's not from any human ship or station." Morrison sat up. In 10 years, they had never received a signal from outside human space. "I'll be right there." The control room was dark, except for the glow of computer screens. Lisa played the recording for Morrison. The sound was unlike anything they had heard before. It had a rhythm like music, but also like speech. "How long has this been going on?" Morrison asked. "About an hour, sir. It repeats every 4 minutes and 42 seconds. "Loud!" Morrison frowned. "That's too regular to be natural." "Run it through the analysis computer?" The computer worked for several minutes. Then words appeared on the screen. Pattern detected. Mathematical sequence identified. Prime numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23. Morrison and Lisa looked at each other. Prime numbers were used in mathematics across the galaxy. Any intelligent species would know them. This was proof that the signal came from another intelligent race. "Where is it coming from?" Morrison asked. Lisa checked her instruments. "The Kepler 442 system, sir. That's 70 light-years beyond." "Our furthest colony." Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. No human had ever been that far from Earth. "Send this to Earth Command immediately. High priority." On Earth, Admiral Karen Wright was having breakfast when the message arrived. She was in charge of Earth's defense forces, and she had been expecting bad news for months. Tensions were high between the human colonies. Some wanted independence from Earth. Others wanted more protection from pirates and raiders. But this message was different. Wright read it 3 times before she believed it. "Get me Dr. Kane," she told her assistant. Now, Dr. Peter Kane was humanity's best expert on alien languages, even though no alien languages had ever been found. He spent his time studying how different human cultures develop language, hoping it would help if humans ever met aliens. The call woke him up. "Admiral Wright? What time is it?" "Doctor, we need you at headquarters right away. We've received what appears to be an alien transmission." Kane was silent for a moment. Then he said, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. At Earth Command Headquarters." Kane listened to the recording over and over. The signal was complex, with layers of meaning hidden in the mathematical patterns. "It's definitely not human," he said finally. "The mathematical structure is different from anything we use. There are similarities. Whoever sent this understands basic mathematics and physics." Wright leaned forward. "Can you translate it?" "I'm trying. The prime numbers are just the beginning. There's more data hidden in the signal." Kane worked on his computer running the signal through different programs. "Wait, I'm seeing coordinates. Coordinates to what? I'm not sure yet. But there's something else. The tone of the signal, the way it repeats, ... "Admiral, I think this is a distress call, right?" Felt her stomach drop. "A distress call from 70 light-years away?" "Yes, and there's more. The signal is getting weaker. Either the source is moving away, or ... double quotes. Kane paused. "Or what, doctor? Whoever is sending it is dying." For the next 6 hours, Kane worked without stopping. He used every computer program and language analysis tool he had. Slowly, piece by piece, the message became clear. The alien signal contained star charts showing the positions of different solar systems. But something was wrong with the charts. Several systems were marked with a symbol that Kane had never seen before. "Admiral, I need to show you something," Kane said. His face was pale. "Star charts show systems being destroyed. It's not by war or natural disasters. Something is consuming them." Wright looked at the charts. "Consuming them? What do you mean?" "The signal talks about something called the Devourers. From what I can understand, they move from system to system, eating everything, planets, stars, entire solar systems. It's impossible." Kane shook his head. "The math doesn't lie. According to this data, the Devourers have already destroyed dozens of systems, and they're moving in our direction." Wright studied the star charts. The pattern was clear. The destroyed systems formed a line pointing straight toward human space. "Ow! Long do we have?" she asked. Kane did the calculations. "Based on their rate of movement, they'll reach our outer colonies in 6 months." Wright closed her eyes. In her worst nightmares, she had imagined war with the colonies or attacks by space pirates. She had never imagined this. "Doctor, are you certain about this translation?" "Certain as I can be. Admiral, there's one more thing. Species that sent this signal, they're not just warning us. They're asking for help. They say they've been running from the Devourers for years. They've seen dozens of species destroyed. They sent us this message because they detected our radio signals. They think we might be strong enough to fight." Wright stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of the city, millions of people going about their normal lives. They had no idea that death was coming from the stars. "Doctor, I need you to keep working on this translation. I want to know everything these aliens can tell us about the Devourers, how they fight, what weapons they use, everything." "Yes, Admiral." Wright picked up her phone. "Get me the President, the Military Council. Emergency meeting in 1 hour." As Kane continued his work, more details emerged from the alien signal. The Devourers were not just destroyers. They consumed all life on a planet, processed it, and used it to fuel their ships. They had been doing this for thousands of years, moving from galaxy to galaxy like a plague of locusts. The aliens who sent the warning called themselves the HFY. They had once been a mighty civilization with hundreds of colonies. Had only a few ships left, running and hiding in the empty spaces between stars. The final part of the message was the most chilling. The HFY had tried to fight the Devourers once. Their entire battle fleet, thousands of ships, had been destroyed in minutes. The Devourers had not just defeated them, they had consumed the ships and crews, adding their strength to the Devourer fleet. But there was hope in the message too. The HFY believed that humans might be different. Human radio and television signals showed a species that was aggressive and warlike. Most species ran when faced with superior force. Humans seemed to fight even when the odds were against them. Wright returned to find Kane staring at his computer. "Screen. What is it, Doctor?" "Admiral, I found something. The Devourers have a weakness. HFY discovered it before their fleet was destroyed. When the Devourers are feeding, consuming a planet, their ships are vulnerable. Their defenses are lowered." "How vulnerable?" "According to this data, very vulnerable. But the window is small, only a few hours while they're actively harvesting. And no species has ever been strong enough to take advantage of it." Wright smiled grimly. "Doctor, I think it's time humanity showed the galaxy what we're made of." Admiral Wright stood in the war room deep beneath Earth Command headquarters. Round the table sat the most powerful people in human space: generals, admirals, and the President himself. The alien message played on speakers throughout the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," Wright began, "we are facing the greatest threat in human history. Something called the Devourers is moving toward our space. They destroy entire solar systems." General Clark, head of the Army, spoke first. "Admiral, with respect, this could be a hoax. We've never encountered aliens before." Dr. Kane stepped forward. "General, I've spent 3 days analyzing this signal. It's real. The mathematical complexity alone proves it came from an advanced civilization." President Hayes looked tired. "Admiral Wright, what are you recommending?" "Protocol 7. The room fell silent. Protocol 7 was the emergency plan created after humanity's last great war. It called for awakening the mothballed war fleet that had been sleeping in space for 30 years. "That fleet hasn't been active since the Colonial War," said Admiral Brooks from the Navy. "Half those ships probably won't even start." Wright nodded. "Then we'd better get to work. Because according to Dr. Kane's analysis, we have less than 6 months before the Devourers reach Haven's Rest." Haven's Rest was humanity's newest colony, home to 3 million people. It was also directly in the path of the Devourers. The President made his decision. Protocol 7 is authorized. Admiral Wright, you have whatever resources you need. 3 days later, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, automated systems that had been sleeping for decades suddenly came to life. Massive shipyards began to glow with power. Robot workers emerged from storage bays and began checking systems. The war fleet had been built in secret during the Colonial War. Officially, it didn't exist. The colonies had been trying to break away from Earth, and Earth had prepared for the worst. The war ended before the fleet was needed, but the ships remained. Hidden and waiting, Captain Alex Rodriguez received his orders while having dinner with his family. He was a career officer who had commanded destroyers and cruisers. But he had never seen anything like the ship they were giving him. The UHS Retribution was 2 kilometers long and armed with weapons that existed nowhere else in human space. It was a dreadnought, built to fight entire fleets. Rodriguez studied the ship's blueprints and whistled softly. "Sir, you're needed on the bridge," came a voice over the intercom. Rodriguez kissed his wife goodbye. "I don't know when I'll be back." Held his hand. "Just come back." In space, the Retribution was a dark shape against the stars. Rodriguez took a shuttle to the ship and met his crew. Many of them had been pulled from retirement or other assignments. They were the best humanity had to offer. Chief Engineer Danny Phillips was 60 years old and had worked on starships his entire life, but even he was impressed by the Retribution. "Captain, this ship has technology I've never seen before," he said. "The power plant alone could run a small city." Commander Lisa Park was the weapons officer. She'd fought in the Colonial War and knew how to use every weapon in the human arsenal. But the Retribution's weapons were different. "Sir, these plasma cannons are experimental. They've never been tested in combat," she reported. Rodriguez nodded. "Then we'll have to learn fast." Across the solar system, other ships were awakening. The carrier UHS Valkyrie was commanded by Captain Nina Foster, a pilot who had become a ship captain. The Valkyrie carried 300 fighter craft, each one fast enough to outrun most ships. The stealth destroyer UHS Ghostwalker was the smallest ship in the fleet, but perhaps the most dangerous. Captain Ryan Bell was a quiet man who had spent his career in intelligence. His ship could become invisible to sensors and strike without warning. The awakening was not easy. 30 years in space had taken its toll on the ships. Systems failed. Computers crashed, and engines refused to start. Phillips worked 18-hour days getting the Retribution ready for combat. "Captain, the quantum drive is offline," he reported. "The power crystals have degraded. We need new ones." "How long to replace them?" 2 weeks if we work around the clock." Rodriguez looked at the mission timeline. "They didn't have 2 weeks. Do it in 1 week, sir." "That's impossible. Chief, impossible is not an option." 3 million people are counting on us." Phillips nodded. "We'll get it done." While the engineers worked, Dr. Kane continued studying the alien signal. New information came every day. The Kethfair were still transmitting, updating their data. As the Devourers moved closer, "Admiral, I've learned more about their technology," Kane reported to Wright. "The Devourers don't use normal weapons. They use something called bioenergy beams. They consume matter and convert it to energy." Wright studied the data. "Can our shields stop these beams?" "I don't know. No one has ever faced this technology." Before on the Retribution, Commander Park was having the same concerns. She ran simulation after simulation, trying to understand how to fight an enemy that could consume matter itself. "Captain, our kinetic weapons might not be effective," she told Rodriguez. "If they can consume matter, they can probably absorb the impact of our missiles." Rodriguez frowned. What about energy weapons? Maybe. But we won't know until we fight them. Valkyrie was having different problems. Captain Foster was training her pilots for combat they had never imagined. The fighters were designed to fight other human ships. No one knew how they would perform against alien technology. Listen up, Foster told her pilots. We're going to face something completely new. Everything you know about combat might be useless. But we have one advantage. We're human. We adapt, we improvise, and we never give up. The pilots were young, most of them fresh from the academy. They were scared, but they were also excited. They were going to be the first humans to fight aliens. On the Ghostwalker, Captain Bell was studying stealth tactics. His ship's invisibility might be humanity's greatest advantage. If the Devourers couldn't see him coming, he could strike at their weak points. Sir, I've been analyzing the HFY data, his science officer reported. The Devourers have sensors we don't understand. Our stealth technology might not work against them. Bell nodded. Then we'll have to make it work. As the ships prepared for battle, Earth's factories worked overtime. New weapons were built, new armor was installed, and new systems were tested. Humanity was preparing for war against an enemy. They didn't understand. The breakthrough came when Kane discovered something in the HFY data. The Devourers had a weakness. When they were feeding on a planet, their ships lowered their defenses to allow the bioenergy beams to work properly. Admiral, this is it, Kane told Wright. This is how we can hurt them, but the window is very small. It's maybe 2 or 3 hours while they're actively harvesting. Wright looked at the tactical display. Doctor, how do we know when they're harvesting? Energy readings will spike. Their ships will be locked in position above the planet. That's when they're vulnerable. Wright smiled. Then that's when we hit them. 3 weeks later, the human war fleet was ready. 50 ships, from the massive Retribution to small patrol craft. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Retribution and looked at his crew. They were ready. Phillips had managed to get all systems online. Park had loaded every weapon the ship carried. The crew was trained and eager to fight. All ships, this is Admiral Wright, came the voice over the communications system. We are about to make history. Humanity has never faced a threat like this. But we have something the Devourers have never encountered. The will to fight no matter the odds. The fleet began to move. 50 ships heading into the unknown, carrying the hopes of 3 billion humans. They were going to Haven's Rest to make their stand. But first, they would make contact with the aliens who had warned them. The HFY had sent coordinates for a meeting point. Humanity was about to have its first face-to-face encounter with another intelligent species. Rodriguez looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, the Devourers were coming, but humanity would be ready. All stations report readiness, he ordered. Engineering ready, Phillips reported. Weapons ready. Park said navigation ready, called the helm officer. Then let's go meet our new allies, Rodriguez said, and show the galaxy what humanity is made of. The Retribution's engines fired, and the great ship began to accelerate. Behind it, the rest of the fleet followed. For the first time in history, not as explorers, but as warriors, the war for humanity's survival was about to begin. The human war fleet traveled through space for 2 weeks. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Retribution watching the stars. They were further from Earth than any human had ever gone before. Captain, we're receiving a signal, said the communications officer. It's the same pattern as the original distress call. Rodriguez nodded. Dr. Kane was right. The aliens are still out there. The signal led them to an empty region of space between 2 star systems. At first, Rodriguez saw nothing on his sensors. Then, slowly, shapes began to appear. The alien ships were there, but they were almost invisible. My God, whispered the science officer. Look at them. Yeah, the HFY ships were beautiful. They looked like they were made of crystal and light. They were long and thin, built for speed rather than fighting. But Rodriguez could see damage on their hulls. These ships had been running for a long time. Captain, we're being scanned, reported the tactical officer. Let them look. But keep our weapons ready. Oh. A new voice came over the communications system. It was speaking a language no human had ever heard, but the universal translator that Dr. Kane had built began to work. Human ships, we greet you. I am Navigator Syktar of the last Kethver fleet. We thank you for coming. Rodriguez took a deep breath. These were the first words ever spoken between humans and aliens. Navigator Syktar, this is Captain Rodriguez of the human fleet. We received your message. We're here to help. There was a long pause. Then Syktar spoke again, and Rodriguez could hear surprise in the alien's voice. You came to help? Most species run when they learn of the Devourers. You came to fight? It's what humans do, Rodriguez said simply. An hour later, a small Kethver ship docked with the Retribution. Commander Amy Stone was chosen to meet the aliens. Because she spoke several human languages and was good with people. The airlock opened, and Stone got her first look at an alien. Syktar was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and large dark eyes. The alien wore a simple robe and moved with grace. Commander Stone, Syktar said in accented English. We have learned some of your language from your radio signals. It is an honor to meet you. Stone bowed slightly. The honor is ours, Navigator. You saved our species by warning us. Syktar's large eyes showed sadness. We have failed to save so many others. Come, let me show you what you face. In the Retribution's briefing room, Syktar displayed holographic images that made the human officers sick. The images showed planets being consumed by the Devourers. Entire worlds were stripped bare, their populations harvested like crops. The Devourers are not like other species, Syktar explained. They do not seek territory or resources in the way you understand. They consume life itself. Every living thing on a planet becomes fuel for their ships. Captain Rodriguez studied the images. How long have they been doing this? Thousands of your years. They move from galaxy to galaxy, consuming everything. We believe they destroyed their own home galaxy long ago. Commander Park, the weapons officer, leaned forward. What are their ships like? How do they fight? Syktar touched the holographic controls and new images appeared. The Devourer ships were massive and ugly, covered in what looked like organic growths. Their ships are partially alive, Syktar said. They heal damage by consuming matter around them. Their weapons do not destroy in the way yours do. They consume. They turn matter into energy and absorb it. Can they be destroyed? Rodriguez asked. Yes, but it is very difficult. My people tried once. We had a great fleet, thousands of ships. We thought we could fight them. Syktar's voice became very quiet. We were wrong. They destroyed our fleet and consumed it. The ships, the crews, everything became part of their strength. Stone felt a chill. How many survived? 12 ships. From thousands, only 12. We have been running ever since. Rodriguez stood up. Navigator, we appreciate your warning, but humans don't run. We fight. Syktar looked at him with those large, dark eyes. Captain, you do not understand. The Devourers cannot be fought with normal weapons. We tried everything. Nuclear weapons, energy beams, kinetic projectiles. Nothing worked. Then we'll try something different, Rodriguez said. Over the next few days, the humans in Kethver shared information. The aliens were amazed by human technology. Human ships were smaller than Kethvar vessels, but they were much more heavily armed. Your species builds ships for war, Syktar observed. Most species build ships for exploration or trade. Only humans build ships specifically to destroy other ships. Commander Park smiled grimly. We've had a lot of practice fighting each other. The Kethver data revealed important information about the Devourers. Their ships traveled in groups called hive fleets. Each fleet had one massive ship called a hive mother, surrounded by smaller vessels. The hive mother controls the others, Syktar explained. If you can destroy it, the smaller ships become confused and weak. How big are these hive mothers? Rodriguez asked. The smallest ones are 10 kilometers long. The largest we have seen was 50 kilometers. Rodriguez whistled. The Retribution was only 2 kilometers long, but he had an idea. Navigator, you said, the Devourers are vulnerable when they're feeding. How vulnerable? Syktar activated another hologram. When they consume a planet, they must lower their defenses. The bioenergy beams require enormous power. For perhaps 3 hours, their shields are weak. 3 hours, Rodriguez muttered. That's not much time. No other species has been strong enough to take advantage of this weakness, Syktar said. The window is too small, and their weapons are too powerful. Rodriguez looked at his officers. What do you think? Phillips, the chief engineer, spoke first. Captain, our plasma cannons are experimental. We don't know how they'll perform against alien technology. Park nodded. The energy output might be different from anything they've faced before. Human technology evolved differently. Stone had been quiet, but now she spoke. Captain, what if we're not trying to match their technology? What if we use our advantage? What advantage? We're unpredictable. Every other species, the Devourers, have fought probably used similar technologies. But human weapons are different. Our tactics are different. It might surprise them. Rodriguez smiled. That's exactly what I was thinking. The meeting with the Kethver lasted 3 days. The aliens shared everything they knew about the Devourers. In return, the humans showed them human weapons and tactics. Syktar was particularly interested in the human concept of combined arms. You coordinate different types of ships in battle? Always, Rodriguez explained. Fighters provide speed and numbers. Destroyers deliver precision strikes. Carriers coordinate the battle. Dreadnoughts like the Retribution provide heavy firepower. The Devourers do not fight this way. They simply overwhelm their enemies with numbers and superior weapons. Then, they've never fought humans before. On the 4th day, Syktar brought news that made everyone's blood run cold. Captain, our scouts have detected the Devourers. They have entered the Haven's rest system. Rodriguez felt his stomach drop. How long until they begin harvesting? Perhaps 6 hours. They will consume the outer planets first to build their strength. Then they will move to the inhabited world. How long to get there? At maximum speed, 4 hours. Rodriguez turned to his crew. It gives us 2 hours to set up our attack before they finish with the outer planets. Phillips looked worried. Captain, the engines are already at maximum. Burn. We can't go any faster. Then we'll have to make those 2 hours count. Rodriguez opened communications to the entire human fleet. All ships, this is the captain. The Devourers have reached Haven's Rest. We have 4 hours to get there and 2 hours to prepare. This is what we trained for. The human fleet began to accelerate. 50 ships racing through space to save 3 million people. Behind them, 12. Kethver ships followed. They were not fighters, but they could provide intelligence and support. Captain Stone said quietly, "What if we can't win?" Rodriguez looked at her. "Commander, failure is not an option. Those people on Haven's Rest are counting on us. And if we fail here, the Devourers will move on to the next human world, and the next." He paused, looking out at the stars. "Besides, we have something the Devourers have never faced before." "What's that, sir?" "Humans who are angry." As the fleet raced toward Haven's Rest, Rodriguez studied the tactical data. The Devourers had arrived with 12 ships, including 1 Hive Mother. It was the smallest hive fleet that Kethver had ever recorded, but it was still massive. Captain Park reported, "I've been analyzing their weapons. The bioenergy beams work by breaking down matter at the molecular level, but they require a lot of power." "Oh, what does that mean for us?" "If we can overload their power systems, their weapons might fail." Rodriguez nodded. "How do we do that?" Park smiled. "We make them work harder than they've ever worked before." 2 hours before they reached Haven's Rest, Rodriguez called his senior officers together. The plan was simple, but dangerous. "We're going to hit them during their feeding phase," he explained. "All ships will attack at once, focusing on the hive. Mother, we need to overwhelm their defenses before they can adapt." "Sir," said Captain Foster from the Valkyrie, "my fighters can provide cover for the main attack." Captain Bell from the Ghostwalker spoke up, "And my ship can get close without being detected. I can target their weak points." Rodriguez nodded. "Hey, good. Remember, we only get one chance at this. If we fail, there won't be anyone left to make a second attempt." The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Haven's Rest system. What they saw made them angry. The Devourers were already feeding. Two of the system's gas giants were being consumed, their matter streaming into the alien ships in rivers of energy. The Hive Mother was enormous, a twisted mass of organic technology 50 kilometers long. All ships, Rodriguez ordered, attack. Battle for Haven's Rest was about to begin. The human war fleet charged into the Haven's Rest system like an angry swarm. Captain Rodriguez watched the tactical display as 50 human ships moved against 12 Devourer vessels. The numbers looked good, but he knew numbers didn't tell the whole story. "Captain, the Devourer ships are massive," reported the tactical officer. "Smallest one is 3 times the size of our largest ship." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Size isn't everything. Fire control. Are our weapons ready?" Commander Park checked her systems. "All plasma cannons charged and ready, sir. Nuclear missiles loaded." "Good. Target the Hive Mother. All ships, focus fire on the big one." The battle began badly. For the humans, the Devourer ships turned to face them, and their bioenergy weapons opened fire. The beams were unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It didn't just hit the ships, they seemed to eat them. "Shields down to 60%, called the defensive systems officer. "Sir, their weapons are consuming our shield energy." Rodriguez gritted his teeth. "Return fire, all weapons." The Retribution's plasma cannons fired, sending streams of superheated energy toward the Hive Mother. The beams struck the alien ship's hull, and for a moment, Rodriguez thought they had done no damage. Then sections of the hull began to glow and melt. "We're hurting them," Park shouted.
"Oh, the plasma cannons are working."
Across the battle, the human fleet was learning hard lessons. The destroyer UHS Hammer took a direct hit from a bioenergy beam and simply disappeared, consumed completely. But the other ships kept fighting, pouring fire into the Devourer vessels. Captain Foster's fighter squadrons from the Valkyrie. The med with the fur, I'm in Sanas, I will the Sai Saffrus, Saffer, and The small fighters were too fast for the bioenergy weapons to track, and their missiles found weak points in the Devourer hulls. "This is Falcon Leader," came Foster's voice over the radio. "We're finding soft spots in their armor. Recommend all ships target the organic sections." Rodriguez looked at the tactical display. The Devourer ships were covered in what looked like living tissue mixed with metal. The human weapons were most effective against the organic parts. "All ships target the biological sections," he ordered. The tide of battle began to turn. The human ships were smaller and faster than the Devourers. Expected, they darted in and out of range, striking and retreating before the massive alien weapons could lock onto them. But the Devourers were learning too. Their bioenergy beams began to adjust, becoming more focused and deadly. The cruiser UHS Defiant was caught by 3 beams at once and was consumed in seconds. "We're losing ships," Park reported. "The Devourers are adapting to our tactics." Rodriguez watched as another human ship was destroyed. They were winning, but at a terrible cost. Then he remembered something the Kethper had told him. "Chief Phillips," he called to the engineering section. "Can you analyze the frequency of those bioenergy beams?" Phillips worked frantically at his console. "Captain, I'm reading a resonance pattern. The beams operate on a specific frequency to break down matter. Can we match that frequency?" "Maybe. But why would we want to?" Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Because if we can match their frequency, we can turn their own weapons against them." Phillips understood immediately. Sir, if we tune our plasma cannons to the same frequency, we might be able to create a feedback loop. Do it. While Phillips worked, the battle raged around them. The Devourer Hive Mother was wounded, but still fighting. Its bioenergy beams had destroyed 5 human ships, and more were badly damaged. Captain Bell's stealth destroyer Ghostwalker appeared suddenly next to one of the smaller Devourer ships. Bell had been moving silently through the battle, looking for the perfect moment to strike. "This is Ghostwalker." Bell's calm voice came over the radio. "Firing all weapons at point-blank range." The Ghostwalker's missiles and plasma cannons fired directly into the Devourer ship's hull. The alien vessel shuddered and began to break apart. But as it died, it released a wave of bioenergy that caught the Ghostwalker. "Ghostwalker, report," Rodriguez called. There was no answer. The Ghostwalker was gone, consumed along with the Devourer's ship it had destroyed. It destroyed. "Captain, I've got the frequency," Phillips announced. "Transferring to weapons control now." Park worked quickly to retune. The plasma cannons, frequency matched, firing. The Retribution's main guns fired again, but this time the beams were different. They struck the Hive Mother's hull, and something amazing happened. The ship's own bioenergy began to turn inward, consuming the vessel from within. "It's working," Park shouted. "The feedback loop is causing their own energy to destroy them." Rodriguez opened communications to the entire fleet. "All ships, retune your weapons to frequency Gamma 7. We can make them eat themselves." The human ships began to modify their weapons. It took precious minutes, but the results were worth it. When the retuned weapons fired, the effect was devastating. The Devourer ships began to consume themselves. Their own bioenergy turned inward, eating away at their hulls and systems.
Ow.
One by one, the smaller ships began to break apart. But the Hive Mother was stronger. It had more power and better defenses. The feedback effect wounded it, but didn't destroy it, Captain. "The Hive Mother is adapting," Park reported. "It's changing its frequency to counter our attack." Rodriguez cursed. The Devourers were learning from the battle, just like the Kethver had warned. But humans could adapt too. "All fighters concentrate on the Hive Mother's feeding tubes," he ordered. "If we can damage those, maybe we can stop it from adapting." Foster's remaining fighters dove toward the massive ship. The Hive Mother was still feeding on the gas giants, drawing energy through massive organic tubes. The fighters attacked these tubes with everything they had. "Direct hits on the feeding system," Foster reported. "The tubes are damaged." The effect was immediate. The Hive Mother's energy levels began to drop. Without the constant flow of consumed matter, it couldn't maintain its adaptations. "Now," Rodriguez shouted. "All ships, full attack on the Hive Mother." The remaining human ships poured everything they had into the massive alien vessel. Plasma cannons, nuclear missiles, and kinetic weapons all struck at once. The Hive Mother's hull cracked and split, leaking bioenergy into space. But the Devourers had one last surprise. As the Hive Mother began to die, it released all its stored energy at once. A wave of consuming force spread out from the ship, destroying everything in its path. "Brace for impact," Rodriguez ordered. The wave hit the human fleet like a hammer. Several ships were destroyed instantly. Others lost shields and armor. The Retribution shook like a leaf in a storm, but its heavy construction saved it. When the energy wave passed, Rodriguez looked at his tactical display. Half the human fleet was gone. So were all the Devourer ships. The Hive Mother was a broken shell, drifting dead in space. "All ships, report status," Rodriguez called. The answers came slowly. The carrier Valkyrie was badly damaged but still fighting. Several destroyers had survived. Few cruisers were limping but functional. Captain Foster's voice came over the radio, weak but determined. "Valkyrie here. We're hurt bad, but we're alive. My fighters saved the day." Rodriguez smiled sadly. They had one, but the cost was terrible. 25 ships and thousands of crew members were gone. "Captain," the communications officer called. "I'm receiving a transmission from Haven's Rest." The voice that came through was shaky but grateful. "Human fleet. This is Governor Mason. On Haven's Rest, we watched the whole battle on our sensors. You saved us. 3 million people owe you their lives. Rodriguez felt a wave of emotion. They had done it. They had saved the colony. But the celebration was short-lived. Navigator Sychtar's voice came over the communications system. Captain Rodriguez, you have achieved something amazing. You have defeated a Devourer Hive fleet. But I must warn you, this was only a small fleet. The main Devourer force is much larger. Rodriguez felt his heart sink. How much larger? Thousands of ships, Captain. This battle was just the beginning. As the human fleet began rescue operations, Rodriguez stood on his damaged bridge and looked out at the stars. They had won their first battle against the Devourers, but the war was far from over. The surviving ships began to regroup around Haven's Rest. The planet's orbital shipyards went to work immediately, repairing damage and building new weapons. The colonists knew their lives depended on the human fleet. Chief Phillips limped up to Rodriguez, his uniform torn and blackened. Captain, the ship is hurt, but she'll fight again. Give me a week and I'll have her better than new, Commander. Park looked exhausted, but satisfied. Sir, I've been analyzing the battle data. We learned a lot about Devourer technology. Next time, we'll be ready for them. Next time? Rodriguez asked. Oh, there will definitely be a next time, Park said. Grimly. The Devourers don't give up. They'll send a bigger fleet. Commander Stone approached with a data pad. Captain, I've been talking with the Kethfer. They want to share more technology with us. They think we might actually be able to win this war. Rodriguez looked around at his battered crew. They were tired, wounded, and far from home. But they were also proud. They had faced the deadliest enemy in the galaxy and won. Sir, the communications officer called Admiral Wright is requesting a full report. Rodriguez nodded. Earth Command would want to know everything about the battle. They would need to prepare for the next attack. But first, there was something else he needed to do. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez. Today we made history. We faced an enemy that has destroyed civilizations across the galaxy, and we beat them. We proved that humans don't run from a fight, no matter how scared we are. He paused, looking at the faces of his crew. We lost good people today. Friends and shipmates who gave their lives so that others could live. We'll remember them. We'll also continue their fight. The Devourers think they can consume the galaxy. They think no one can stop them. Today we prove them wrong. And when they come again, and they will come again, we'll be ready. The human fleet began its journey back toward human space. They carried with them the knowledge of how to fight the Devourers. More importantly, they carried proof that the galaxy's greatest threat could be defeated on Earth. Admiral Wright received the battle report with mixed emotions. They had one, but the cost was high. According to the Kethver data, this was just the beginning. She looked at the star chart showing the Devourer advance. The main enemy force was still coming, and it was massive. What? Humanity would need every ship, every weapon, and every advantage they could get. But for the first time since receiving the alien distress signal, Wright felt hope. The humans had faced the Devourers and won, could be beaten. Now humanity had to prepare for the real war in the depths of space. The main Devourer fleet received news of the defeat at Haven's Rest for the first time in thousands of years. A Devourer hive fleet had been completely destroyed. The Devourer hive mind processed this information with something like surprise. It had never encountered a species that could match its bioenergy weapons. But instead of fear, the hive mind felt something else: hunger. These humans would provide excellent material for consumption. Their technology would make the Devourer fleet stronger. The hive mind began to plan. The war between humanity and the Devourers had truly begun. 3 months after the Battle of Haven's Rest, the galaxy had changed forever. Admiral Wright stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the UHS Defiance. Watching the largest fleet in human history assemble around Earth, the victory at Haven's Rest had done more than save 3 million lives. News of humanity's success had spread throughout the galaxy, carried by Kethver messengers to hidden refugee fleets. For the first time in centuries, species that had been running from the Devourers began to fight back. Admiral, the Zephyrian ships have arrived, reported Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to Fleet Admiral. That brings our total to 8,000 ships. Wright nodded. 8,000 ships from dozens of different species, all united under human command. It was a miracle she had never expected to see. The Zephyrians had been the first to answer humanity's call. Their ships were beautiful works of art, covered in energy shields that could stop almost any weapon. When they heard that humans had actually defeated a Devourer fleet, they emerged from their hiding places in the Galactic Rim. The crystalline HFY fleet is requesting permission to join the formation, Rodriguez continued. They're offering to share their computer technology? The HFY were living crystals who thought in pure mathematics. Their computers could calculate battle strategies faster than any organic mind. Combined with human tactical thinking, they were devastating. Wright looked at the display showing the assembled fleet. Human dreadnoughts stood next to graceful Kethver scouts. Zephyrian energy ships worked alongside bulky HFY computational vessels. And in the center, the massive human shipyards worked day and night, building new vessels designed specifically to fight the Devourers. Admiral Kane, Dr. Kane's voice over the intercom. We've received the final intelligence report from our scouts. Wright walked to the briefing room where Kane waited with Navigator Psychtar and several other alien representatives. The news they brought made her stomach drop. The main Devourer fleet is larger than we thought, Kane said. Our estimates were wrong. Psychtar activated a holographic display. The hive mind has gathered its forces from across 3 galaxies. Over 50,000 ships, including 100 hive mothers. Wright felt the blood drain from her face. 50,000 ships.
Admiral.
They are moving toward the Andromeda system, where they have built massive processing stations. From there, they plan to sweep through this entire spiral arm of the galaxy. The room fell silent. 50,000 ships against 8,000 seemed impossible odds, even for humans. There's more, Psychtar continued. The hive mind itself is coming. The central intelligence that controls all Devourers. It travels in a ship the size of a small moon. Wright studied the tactical data. The Devourer strategy was simple and terrifying. They would process entire star systems at once, turning planets into fuel and ships into weapons. Nothing would be left alive. How long do we have? Wright asked. 6 weeks until they reach the first inhabited systems, Kane replied. 3 weeks until they're in position at Andromedus. Wright made her decision, and we hit them at Andromedus. Before they can spread out across the galaxy, Rodriguez looked up from the tactical display. Admiral, attacking them at their main base is suicide. We'll be outnumbered 6-1, Fleet Admiral. Running from them is also suicide, just slower. Wright replied, at least this way, we choose the time and place of the battle. Over the next 3 weeks, the combined fleet prepared for the largest space battle in galactic history. Human engineers worked with alien scientists to create new weapons and defenses. Every ship was upgraded with the best technology from all the allied species. The breakthrough came when Chief Engineer Phillips discovered how to combine human plasma weapons with Zephyrian energy shields. The result was a weapon that could punch through Devour bioenergy defenses. It's beautiful, Phillips told Rodriguez as they watched the new weapons being installed. Human aggression, powered by alien elegance. Commander Park had been promoted to Admiral of Weapons, coordinating the armament of the entire fleet. She worked with alien tacticians to develop new fighting strategies. The key is coordination, she explained to the fleet commanders. Human ships will draw their fire while the alien vessels strike at weak points. We hit them with everything at once. Captain Foster, now commanding an entire carrier group, trained pilots from 6 different species. Flying together isn't easy, she told Wright. But when it works, it's like watching poetry in motion. The fleet's diversity was its greatest strength. Each species brought different capabilities. The Kethver provided speed and stealth. The Zephyrians offered energy manipulation. The HFY gave computational power. And humans provided the one thing no other species had: the willingness to fight against impossible odds. 3 weeks later, the combined fleet arrived at the Andromeda system. What they found there was worse than anyone had imagined. The Devourers had turned the entire star system into a factory of death. Dead planets had been converted into processing stations. The system's star was being drained to power massive bioenergy generators. In the center of it all, the hive mind ship waited like a dark moon. "My God," whispered Rodriguez. "They've consumed everything." The Devourer fleet was arranged in perfect formations around their processing stations. 50,000 ships, from small scouts to massive hive mothers. They filled space like a plague of locusts, all ships. "This is Admiral Wright," she announced. To the fleet. "Today we fight not just for our species, but for all life in the galaxy. The Devourers think they can consume everything. Let's prove them wrong." The battle began with a massive coordinated strike. 8,000 ships attacked 50,000, using speed and technology to even the odds. Human dreadnoughts smashed through Devourer formations while alien support ships provided cover and targeting data. The space around Andromedus became a hellscape of energy beams and explosions. Ships from both sides died by the hundreds. But the Alliance fleet kept fighting, using tactics the Devourers had never seen before. "Admiral, the Zephyrian energy weapons are working," Park reported. "They're overloading the Devourer biosystems." Battle raged for hours. The Alliance fleet was taking terrible losses, but they were hurting the Devourers too. For every Allied ship destroyed, 2 Devourer vessels died. But the real target was the hive mind itself. Deep in the heart of the Devourer fleet, the massive ship that controlled everything waited. Rodriguez led a strike force of the fastest ships toward it. "This is it," he told his pilots. "If we can destroy the hive mind, the entire Devourer fleet will be crippled." Strike force fought its way through waves of enemy ships, and he didn't make it. But Rodriguez and his core group reached the hive mind ship. The vessel was enormous, covered in bioorganic weapons and defenses. But it had one weakness. It had never been attacked before. The hive mind had always stayed safely behind its fleets. "All ships, concentrate fire on the central structure," Rodriguez ordered. The combined firepower of human, Spherian, and Hashek weapons struck the hive mind ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then cracks began to appear in its hull. Inside the ship, the hive mind felt something it had never experienced before: pain. For thousands of years, it had consumed galaxies without resistance. Now, for the first time, it was being hurt by its prey. The hive mind tried to adapt, to learn from the attack, but the Alliance weapons were too diverse, too unpredictable. Each species fought differently, using tactics the hive mind couldn't counter. "Keep firing," Rodriguez shouted. "We're breaking through." The hive mind's ship began to break apart. As it died, something amazing happened. Across the entire Devourer fleet, ships began to stop fighting. Without the hive mind's control, they became confused and slow. "Admiral, the Devourer ships are powering down," came reports from across the fleet. "They're not responding to our attacks." I couldn't believe it. They'd done the impossible. They had destroyed the hive mind and crippled the entire Devourer fleet. But the victory came at a terrible cost. Half the Alliance fleet was gone. Thousands of ships and millions of crew members had given their lives. As the surviving ships regrouped, Wright opened communications to the entire fleet. "All ships, all species, we have one. The Devourers are defeated, but we must remember the price we paid. We must ensure that their sacrifice was not in vain." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to heal without the hive mind's control. The remaining Devourer ships simply drifted in space. Many were captured and studied. Others were destroyed to prevent them from ever threatening anyone again. The various species began to work together to rebuild what had been lost. The Galactic Defense Alliance was formed, with humanity as its military leaders and the other species providing their unique skills. Dr. Kane, now the Alliance's first xenolinguistic coordinator, worked to establish communication between all the member species. "We've learned that diversity is strength," he told Wright. "Each species brings something unique to the Alliance." Admiral Wright stood on the bridge of the new Alliance headquarters. a massive space station built from the combined technologies of all member species. Through the windows, she could see ships from dozens of worlds working together to patrol the galaxy, Admiral Rodriguez said as he joined her. The outer patrol reports are in. No devour activity anywhere in the galaxy. Wright nodded. Good, but we can't become complacent. There might be other threats out there. Then we'll face them together, Rodriguez said. All of us. Wright smiled. When the first distress signal had reached Earth, humanity had been alone in the galaxy. Now they were part of something much larger. The galaxy was no longer a dark and dangerous place where species hid from each other. Communications, Wright called. Open a channel to all Alliance ships. Channel open, Admiral. All ships, all species. This is Admiral Wright. 6. Months ago, we received a distress signal from the void. That signal led us to discover we were not alone. It led us to find allies, and eventually, to find our purpose. She paused, looking out at the stars. We are no longer individual species struggling to survive. We are the Galactic Defense Alliance. We stand together, we fight together, and we protect each other. No distress signal will ever go unanswered again. Across the galaxy, on ships and stations and worlds, beings from dozens of species heard her words and felt hope. The age of fear was over. The age of unity had begun. And in the depths of space, automated listening posts continued their eternal vigil, waiting for the next signal from the void. Whatever came next, the galaxy would face it together.